Welcome to Ellamas Day 28, and as promised, after this nearly 2 hour long ranking of all the palettes that I tried in 2024, you will also get this top 10. And before there are any confusions or something, it is possible that here in this top 10 rankings, the order of eyeshadow palettes is different to the ranking that you saw 2 days or 3 days ago. Why is that the case? These here are my top 10 eyeshadow palettes, and these top 10, they're not based on numbers. I have, when I test palettes and when I categorize palettes, I have a ranking system, and I do rate my palettes in quality, color story, and personal excitement on a scale from 0 to 10. And then there is like this number of points that a palette can achieve. So if everything has 10, 10, 10, it's a 10.0. Of course, if everything is 999, it's a 9.0. So a palette can also have 8.3, 8.7. I think you get the deal. And in my ranking of these palettes that I tried that you saw, this is the base of this. So the ranking is based on these, like on these pure number ratings. It's on a rational rating. These top 10 palettes here, my personal top 10 that are not only new palettes, well, fun fact, it's majority new palettes, only 2 from like 2023. This is based on pure joy, pure entertainment. Yes, kind of entertainment too. Like, how do I feel about these? How often do I think of these palettes? And just not based on the numbers, because I'm not criticizing any quality. I don't want to criticize any color story in this. This is just a pure emotional ranking. So I know right away that here are definitely 2 palettes that are switching positions here. So the other is now like towards the more top 1 basically than it is in the other ranking. And just in general, this whole order here is different to the ranking, but I just explained it so you get the deal. Let's start with number 10, and that's kind of an oldie but a goodie, and it's a palette that I have been offered a lot of money to sell it. I never will. I am talking about the Ellamas Industrial one. This is just my top 10. This just belongs to my top 10 palettes, and I cannot even remember if I used it this year more than just for swatching or just for example shades or just to add something. But I can tell you that I don't have to use this palette a whole year to just know how much I love this. The reason why I probably didn't use it all year was the fact that in 2024 I did so many reviews. I mean, I ranked over 120 palettes. This is something that definitely will change in 2025, so expect seeing this. And I'm sorry that this is not available anymore, but I have still pure joy with this, and I just hope for 2025 that Ellamas will finally come out with a new palette. And no, I am not one of those people who are begging this to come back, because to me, limited is limited, and I'm fine with that. And it would not make sense actually for Ellamas itself, because she said within the brand that she is aiming for capsule collections like in the fashion industry. Once that collection is sold out, it's sold out. That thing will never be done again. At number 9, we have a palette that is just still highly appreciated, and although there is a different Cosmic Brushes eyeshadow palette these days that I like more than this, I still think that the Winter Wonderland is such a work of art. I am beyond excited whenever I look at this palette. And I know that a lot of people are specifically loving this palette for the shade Winter Solstice. I can totally understand that. Although I have seen this shade in other palettes too, this is just truly beautiful and unique. And again, I saw this shade in Odin's Eye, for example. I'm pretty sure I have one like that from Cleona too, but the mix is it just, every one of these variations just has different undertones going on, has maybe a different finish. It's just something unique and special about the shade Winter Solstice that just makes this palette absolutely worth it just for one shade. At number 7, we have the palette where I always say this is probably just because of one shade, the Haggard Captive of Night. I am talking specifically about this shade here. It's Labyrinth or English Maze. This is a blackened gold. This is truly unique. I don't have a shade like this. I have over 220 eyeshadow palettes and I don't have any shade that is somewhat close to this here. I don't know what kind of witchcraft is in this. At my emotional number 6, we have the palette that just did it all for me this year. I will not waste your time again and just rave about this. This is the Cheery Up Dragon Ascension palette. I really hope that in 2025 we will get a snake palette from them. I honestly assume this because this was such a hit. This actually was not only, in my opinion, the entry for me into Chinese beauty. I think because this palette went viral in the beginning of the year, this was for a lot of people the entry to see beauty in general, and it was the entry for Cheery Up to the Western market, in my opinion. I love this palette. It is really stunning. There are some truly unique shades in there and unique formulation that just makes every look that you create with this wonderful. At number 6, we have the Nomad Cosmetics Polar Express. And here is where the confusion could happen, because in my overall ranking of newer palettes that I tested, this is higher ranked than a Fuji palette, the Mountain Fuji. I thought for a second, do I gatekeep? No, I don't. You will see it in 2 seconds, because the Mountain Fuji is actually ranked higher. Why is it like that? First of all, I think the Polar Express has the best cozy winter theming. This is truly beautiful, and while I don't think that this is a classic Christmas palette, it is a classic winter cozy palette, which I absolutely adore. When I look at this palette, I don't see like Polar Express in a train or whatever. I see me sitting there with a hot chocolate, maybe even outside here, a little fire is going on, some snowflakes are coming, we're watching these, we're slowly getting packed to get back in. Maybe we're sitting also outside, it's crisp cold, and we have like a winter barbecue. It's a thing here in Germany. So honestly, I see so many cozy occasions when I look at this palette that it just warms my heart. But the Mountain Fuji 5 Lake, that is emotionally ranked a bit higher, has some other things why this is higher than this. But I think with Polar Express, Nomad Cosmetic, they hit a certain thing. They really did. At number 5, we have a palette that last year already surprised me with the first version, and this year made me emotionally very excited because I was one of the first to have this, because I had a very lucky hand and know somebody on Instagram who sold this to me from England actually. I am talking about the Beautyverse 2024. It's specifically called the Pillow Talk Beautyverse Love Palette, and this is just the essence of these year's trends. 2024 was the year where we had so many red eyeshadow palettes. We went into dark, vampy, cherry cola vibes. We dared more. We just finally gave the gothic style a new face, and honestly, Charlotte Tilbury as a mainstream brand went on this. They jumped on the bandwagon, they rid the wave, they just did it. And I think aside from the color story that makes me really excited when I look at this, it is also the quality. Charlotte Tilbury eyeshadows, in my opinion, are quite inconsistent because the quads, they're okay. They're mediocre at its best. The Fire Rose quad, though, is absolute stunning. It's so different to the other quads. Then the older 12-pen palettes, mediocre too. But these new 9-pen formats, they're once again just chef's kiss, and they're just banging. Now at number 4, the Nomad Cosmetics Fuji 5 Flakes. This to me has just... I cannot put into words what exactly this is, but Please remember, we're talking about an emotional ranking. This has nothing to do with how cohesive the color story is. I think color story wise, the Nomad Polar Express is more cohesive than this. That is just a fact. But when I look at this, I see. I just get so excited. I see so many looks. I see so many ways to slap art on my eyes. I can't explain this. I don't even have somewhat of a thing that connects me with Japan or whatever. It is just when I look at the palette, when I look at the artwork, there is just something tickling in me. Something is scratching my creative brain the absolute right way that it makes me emotionally very attached to this eyeshadow palette, and that it just deserved number 4 in this emotional palette ranking. Now let's talk about the top 3 emotional palettes. And I don't think that this is a surprise when we are ranking by emotions that you know, I mean, words not necessary at this point. I think so. Because nailed it, ColourPop. I will probably never shut up about this palette. At number 2, we have the Cosmic Brushes palette that honestly, that to me is this the best too? I think this is the best that they have done so far. I love the Winter Wonderland. I love the Sinister palette. Absolutely. I love the Gothic palette, that little 12 pen. Beautiful. But the Cool Trails palette is just hitting differently. This is like the more muted, the more desaturated big sister of the Winter Wonderland. And this is Winter Wonderland made for every day. Because even I, and I know that might sound shocking, even I don't want to wear stuff like Winter Wonderland every day. I want to wear loud makeup. But Winter Wonderland has such a specific blue vibe to it because of the different undertones that are in there, that even for me, this is not a everyday loud palette. While I could totally work with this as an everyday palette, these has also blue tones, but we have some neutrals mixed in. So many interesting duochromes and multichromes in here. Tempting, for example, is like the dark version of Winter Solstice. Gravitate is this beautiful green to gold to pink and even a bit red, if I'm honest. Secret is this beautiful purple that has this grayed out base to it. Overall, it is just such a well executed palette in color story and in formulation that this makes just the best Cosmic Brushes palette. And again, I love the Sinister palette that came out this year. I love the Winter Wonderland. Yes, I even love the neutrals for what it actually is. But the Cool Trails, honestly, it's getting hard for the brand to top this. And now, the number 1, that palette that blew me away. That palette that fulfilled all my wet Gothic dreams. That palette that I am actually wearing on my eyes today, in case you wondered. And I don't think you will be able to guess from what I'm wearing that it's this palette. Because of the design, it can get a bit distracting and you can start to focus on just certain shades in the palette. But if you try to just blend that out, and if you focus really on the colors and the variations that you get in this palette, you will all of a sudden see how versatile this is. That this is not only giving you these goth looks, you can also do this. You can go neutral, you can go silver, you can go all matte, you can make one shadow looks. It is so good, and it's heavy limited. So I am quite sure that once this is sold out, it will not come back. They brought it back one more time after it sold out for the very first time, but I'm pretty sure that once this is gone, it's gone. And honestly, that thought, let me just tell you that what I'm just about to say is so many, or has such a deep meaning in so many levels, that I don't think that it will be any place to discuss anymore why this is my favorite palette. And this is not only my favorite palette here in this emotional ranking, this actually is one of the 2 palettes in my collection that scored a 10 out of 10 in all categories. I am talking about the Cheer Up X Freya 86 palette. And what am I going to tell you now is, since this is a limited edition palette, and since I love this palette so much, and since I personally actually see me panning some of these shades, I bought a backup. Yes, this is the first palette that I have a backup of. I mean, it's not here yet, but I bought one because I'm just too afraid that this will sell out and I will not realize it, and then I will have a pan in some of these shades, and then I'm here and I don't know what to do. Everything in this palette makes so much sense. This is the best palette of 2024. This is the best palette that emotions, like emotionally the best palette. I mean, this palette is just tickling my brain also with the packaging, because this dark red, first of all, it matches my Christmas nails. Everything just is perfect here, and Freya 86, her whole aesthetic, her whole vibe is just mwah. If you don't know her, I highly recommend check her out on Instagram. She did this palette with Cheer Up, and to be honest, I think the first shade that I will be hitting pan on is this red and will be this blue. On this eye, by the way, if you want to see this look, you will see it tomorrow, because tomorrow I will be creating this face for you with all my favorites. And this, not only point-wise, like rank-wise with all the categories and the ratings, is the best of 2024. This is also, as of today, as of now, emotionally my favorite palette in my collection. Now, all things like color story and quality and shit aside, just from an emotional standpoint, what's your favorite palette? Maybe it's the one that you want to clutter. Maybe it's one that you have just memories attached to it. Maybe it's a palette that just, maybe you don't use it that much, but just from looking at it, you get happy feelings. Let me please know in the comments down below what palette this is for you, or maybe it's a single eyeshadow, doesn't matter. Maybe it's any kind of other makeup, I don't know. Let us just know down below what makes you so happy that you would call this your emotional top favorite makeup product, preferably eyeshadow palette, because we're talking about eyeshadow palettes. But honestly, don't feel pressured. Just choose whatever you like, whatever the emotion is telling you. Thank you so much for joining me today, for coming with me through this video. Make sure to subscribe, because there are still days of Ellamas going on. And if you're bored, there are already a couple videos up, and the playlist is linked down below. If you want to get any of these palettes, all my affiliate codes and links and stuff, they're always linked down below. This time not to the specific palettes, but for example, there is a list where it says Look Healthy store, link and code, and there you can buy this however you like. Please never feel pressure to buy anything, but if you do so, I'm very happy when you support my channel by using the affiliate links and codes, because you save money and I get a commission. Thank you as always so much, and I have a deja vu because I have done this outro already, but then I came back to the other part. You know what? See you tomorrow.